What's going on, people? How are we doing? We are back for the first episode of season 2, as we're calling it.
Right.
Last week was the 1-year anniversary, and we're back with episode 1, season 2, or is this episode 49? I don't know, Quinny.
I don't know. But I was just thinking, are we still sparring at this point?
We're always sparring, mate. My sparring.
We're always sparring.
Quinny,
Yeah.
as always, on I guess he's on my left if I'm looking this way, but he's on the right of me on the screen if you're watching live. We are live on Twitch right now. If you don't know, then where have you been? You haven't obviously been listening for the last while, but we're live on Twitch. It's Thursday morning. If you're listening in the future, you can join us on twitch.tv/Plastician. Best way to get involved, follow at MProductPod on Twitter for those notifications, and follow me on Twitch. You'll get a notification when we go live, and of course you can watch it back and follow Quinny on YouTube where it is broadcast after. I think that's all the spiel out the way. A little bit of
the actual podcast feed. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, it's there.
That's right.
Spotify, Amazon, Apple, all the
End Product Podcast, So Rare, will find that.
End Product, So Rare podcast.
That's the one.
Where the end product happens, Stishy boy.
That's right. Well, did it happen for you since we last spoke?
No. It's the short answer. It was a bit of a weird weekend last week, wasn't it? You know, like a lot of people, it felt like the wind get taken out the sails quite quickly on a lot of people's game weeks. And then it was, like I was saying this somewhere, I can't remember where it was, but it felt like one of those game weeks. I know Villa Stacks come in again, which is incredible to see.
Yeah.
But it feels like Villa Stacks came in, and then it was all the other bits and pieces teams that landed, you know, where it wasn't like you were relying on the clean sheet team to deliver, or the big goal scoring team to spank somebody. It was selective piece teams that tend to populate my timeline, you know, as well as the Villa Stacks, like we say.
Yeah. Yeah, the Villa Stacks definitely been popping up on my timeline. I think some of the gang from the game that we went to seemed to be having a lot of luck. I remember we were kind of, at least I was anyway, I was kind of like ripping it out of them at the game. I was like, who wastes money on a Villa stack? And since then, I think he's won every weekend, I think, something decent. I've seen him just tag us in a post that he's just picked up a Emi Martinez rare card. So
rare?
Yeah, big step up from the limited stacks he was using. So congrats to was it Wayne or was it the Villa?
Wayne and Ethan, his son.
Yeah, they're doing really well. So congrats to them.
They're both riding high.
You
won't miss them on Twitter. They're not shy either. So if you're on Twitter, you've definitely came across them.
Tagging away, making sure.
But you know what that gets me in the frame of mind of, Sish, especially when Wayne picked up that win the other day, when he was posting about it. I was thinking, Villa are not the only team you could do this with. Like, and I don't think I'm a genius for coming up with that, if you know what I mean. But like coming into next season, like, because I think we mentioned that at the end of season 1 last week. But coming into like the stage we're at the now, so rare-wise, is anyone who's in the market, you're thinking about next season. You're not buying somebody for the next 5 games or whatever, you know.
Yeah.
And looking ahead to next season, like Villa was a bit, you know, I don't think you could have forecasted the state Villa are in now this time last year, because different manager and situation, you know, and a few different players pre-World Cup before Martinez really went up a level as well. It feels like since he's got that medal, he's like evolved or something, you know, Pokemon style.
Yeah.
So, you know, Villa might not have been that predictable in the grand scheme of things, but across particularly the top 5 and the way so rare, particularly the way the market goes in general, there is really well organised, well-funded teams that have some good managers in places across the continent. And they're now, like, I think this, like the Villa stack opportunity, if you want to think of it like that, it comes up when Bayern are in disarray. You know, they're changing manager. They've not really, you know, evolved past Lewandowski or anything like that either. PSG. Italy is crazy. It's not really worth stacking Italy anyway at the best of times. And then Spain is just not that attractive. It's just not a high goal scoring league, you know. So when you've got that kind of lay of the land, and that's the general perception on the cards, the teams, the profile of what you get for your money in those kind of territories, then there will be ones that just get slept on, you know. And it's like Unai Emery's at Aston Villa. Guys won like 5 Europa Leagues and you know, took PSG. I think Unai Emery is probably got one of PSG's best records as a manager. I might be wrong on that, so please forgive me if I am, right? But anyway, the guy's had a great career and goes to Villa, and you know, with the right resources, the right players. If you were paying attention, like like a fan would be, you know, and you really get the sense of, wow, actually the boys are ticking on now and some form's happening and now he's fit and now he's playing in this position. Then next year there'll be more Villa stacks, but it might be Villa again, you know, but there will be other ones. And it's starting to think about who they might be already, you know, if we see any moves on managers or players, you know, at this time of the year going into the summer.
I think it's particularly interesting as well, like teams that are in amongst that kind of European spots that aren't the Champions League, like the Europa League, the Conference League. They're really good for stacking because, you know, they're in the sort of upper mid-tier of their divisions, but then they could get drawn into really weak groups for those midweeks. So at the beginning of their season, you won't only see like a good return in those first sort of few game weeks where they're picking up results against like the bottom half clubs in the league, but then they go into the midweeks and they're playing against like random teams from Bulgaria and unheard of teams from Lithuania and stuff in these divisions that, you know, they're expected to clean up in. And if you've got a team of 5 players from those teams that you can run into a little stack, or maybe you've got 5 or 6 players that you can rotate in and out and use them in cap modes instead. And yeah, I was having this conversation with my friend Dan, who plays Hudlin. Shout out, Dan. We went to watch Chelsea against Real Madrid on the week, and we were discussing like how would you attack cap mode for Super Rare, and he had this idea that you could pick up like a stack of maybe a kind of mid-tier, you know, even like a Euro D2 team that is sort of like upper mid-table, half of the table, and you know, like pick up a result 3/4 of the time, maybe drop points once every 4 games. That keeps them usable in those cap modes. And if you've maybe got like the backup of a couple of maybe like the fullbacks or something like that, so they've got players that rotate, that keeps them cheap and stuff like that. It's quite an interesting strategy, I think, especially for Super Rare, because if you are using those teams that aren't smashing it every week, then, you know, that Villa stack that we're mentioning, at the time that these folks were picking those up, they probably weren't that expensive by comparison to a lot of the rest of the players.
No, buttons.
Yeah. And they're obviously now they won't be, because they've got big L5 scores. People are after them. Someone in the chat mentioned there's a couple of people tweeting about the 20 stacks as well. And I think
20 as well. Completely. 20 was the actual, 20 was the one people predicted. Like you said, there, Stish, you know, they were in like the Conference League or the Europa League, but they had qualifiers and they had early rounds and they spanked teams dead early in the season. They maybe went off the boil for a bit. And then I think that's when a lot of guys like Gaza and a few other people went and maybe picked some of them up. The guys that we later seen go on and smash D2s and D3s with them, you know, get all the supers in a line and all that stuff, you know, because they did then kick on again later half of the season. But that was also another kind of thing I was thinking about with this as well. And I guess Arsenal going so well in the league, and if you even think back to the season where Leicester won the title, sometimes the most influential in like midweek utility is great, right? The weekends are the big weeks, right? And sometimes the best thing to have is a team that's not in Europe and a really good team that's not in Europe. And
less rotation. Yeah,
exactly. Week to week, you know, and it's all about the league and restoring. Oh, we finished 8th last season. We need to fix that, and then you go on and finish 3rd or something, you know. And you know, there's still some stuff to be seen. We're still to close out this season, right? But the first division I look at is La Liga, and Sevilla in 13th. Like, they're a write-off for this season, right? But let's jump into the summer and let's imagine they put a good manager in. You'd always back Sevilla to transfer well in the summer, and with no European football, like Sevilla were. I don't know if it was this season or last season, but they were top at Christmas within the last like year or something. You know, they're not that far away. You know, so a team like that, for example, that doesn't have the midweeks, is desperate to get back into Europe. You know, gets a manager in, fixes some problems in the squad with transfers. You know, so that's just one off the top of my head. But yeah, the D2 play I like a lot as well. But the thing I've noticed with the particular, this is German D2, right? I can't really speak about anything else. But German D2, if you look at the players that smash and the teams that smash, it seems to be, you know, everything comes in waves. It is really form-based. I know you're saying there maybe I'll hit 3 weeks out of 4. And let's say that is the ratio. But the reality of that ratio probably goes 3 months you win all the time, 1 month you win nothing because they're all crap and getting spanked because the fixtures have went against them, you know, or something. And that's a frustrating thing to live through, because if it is just once every actual 3 weeks, you just write it off. But if you go like 3 weeks on the bounce and your team's rubbish, you then start to, oh no, what have I done? Should I have sold them last month? What should I do now? And then you then maybe fall yourself into some moves. And then by the time you've changed things around, they've come back around again. And you're like, oh no, what have I done? I just got rid of them all. And sod's law, now they're coming a good, jinxed it, or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot of things to kind of weigh up on the timing of these things as well. Because sometimes, like, even if you did back, again, it's just an example, don't do anything about Sevilla just yet unless you go and look at them, right? But if you did already see something for Sevilla that you would be like, oh, that manager is brilliant, he's in the now, he's got a couple of games to sort these problems out, they're already linked to this guy and that guy or whatever, then maybe you just take the punt and go, I'll get the goalkeeper the now while he's, sleeping, and then we'll see how it pans out and maybe time it as it goes or something. I don't know. But the timing is the delicate part on it all, because some players, like as we've seen, particularly as we go into the off-season, it's very reasonable to imagine that many players will go down in price in the off-season from where they are at the moment. By how much? It's obviously hard to say every season, but it will happen to an extent. So the benefit you get by picking them up now, maybe get a wee bit of utility for 5 games, is what you're trying to balance off against that, because they will dip, so don't be disappointed if you buy somebody today and then, 2 months from now they're down 10% or something because they've not got a game for 7 weeks. So, but can you beat that 10% or 50% or whatever it could be? Can you beat that with the utility you get from the end of the season? Sometimes that's worth it, sometimes it isn't, because sometimes you might get a guy and then not actually really play him the now or something. So
we was talking as well. Another thing my friend Dan brought up was that he's in a Discord chat where a couple of players who'd kind of sold up have like rebought back in recently, and they were saying they've come back in at what they felt was like an opportunity to come back in. More rewards are out there to be won. They know how to play the game, and they're kind of entering almost from the start, but with the knowledge that they need to play the game and win. And he was saying that a couple of these users that have come back in, have actually seen their galleries rise in value, which, a lot of the noise on social media is about the market being down. But they're, like in any market, if you come in at the right time and buy, you've got the opportunity to do well, right? And some of these people who've recently rebought in have said that, they're actually in profit from when they got back in like a couple of months back. A couple of threshold wins here and there, a couple of card wins, a few pieces moved around, a couple of players they picked up for pennies, up on the dollar, as the saying is. But yeah, I think there's it just feels like a good time, doesn't it, to, like you said, it's building time right now. If you're coming in, building for next season, building for the start of the European season, if you're not a player who plays Asia and America particularly, buying into Asia and America right now is as expensive as it probably gets, I would say, or there or thereabouts. Maybe between now and the end of June, I'd say like peak time for buying. Or if you're a seller, this is the time to start thinking about selling your America and Asia cards. But yeah, this definitely feels like the perfect time to have a little look at where you're at with the European divisions, and fill in some of those gaps. I had no real intention to get involved in the market of late, but it is just so tempting, isn't it, when you see some of the prices? Just trying to figure out what to do. Obviously, I've had those 2 great wins recently, Donnarumma and Mbappe. It's like there's no reason I shouldn't be really competitive in at least Champ, Euro, Rare. I think obviously my super rare options in Champ are not fantastic unless people move clubs and stuff like that. I've got a couple of like dependables, but they don't have the high ceiling. Like I've got William Carvalho, super rare, who, is a sort of 48 to 55 points player. Very rarely gets involved in the decisive, doesn't hit those massive all-around scores too often. So it kind of puts me off usually playing Champ. Obviously that week that I managed to hit big, I used that Cherky super rare. Now he could be a beast next season in that division if he does move to somewhere like PSG and becomes a starter, especially next to an Mbappe card that I've already got. That starts to look really appealing to me, like Champ, Euro, Rare, Pro might do there. But yeah, I'm quite happy with where my gallery is right now. I don't feel like there's too many gaps in there. Obviously, we had the issues a few weeks back where I was trying to figure out what to do with my super rare goalkeeper situation. A few players have found themselves a little bit more cemented. Baek Jong Bum at Seoul looks definitely looks better than their other options there at the moment. So I'm hoping he keeps that place. Obviously, we talk about Tanny a lot on here. I feel like the last couple of game weeks and watching how they've shaped up in the cup. Higashiguchi played yesterday in the cup for them again, so you'd imagine that Tanny probably starts the weekend again. And I feel like we're just starting now to. At least with my gallery, I'm like, I can see a path through the closed season for Europe. So I don't think there's too much I'm really going to be doing between now and then, apart from maybe consolidating some of the card wins into more premium players or players that maybe pair up with my goalkeepers and stuff. But how are you looking at next season? What have you been doing in the market lately? Because I know you've made a few moves and shakes in the market the last couple of weeks since we spoke.
Yeah, I've had a few. It's kind of one of those times where, like you say, there's some cards that if you can get them in, somehow the price that they're going for is just far too cheap. Like when I went to the Celtic Rangers game last week or something and Ellis was over, we were just chatting at the table. I'm surprised I never made it into the video, in fact. But he was saying to me, like, oh, you know, if I was to buy us, you know, we're just talking about Celtic and stuff like that. And anyway, I was saying to him, at the time, Matt O'Reilly rares were auctioning around £100 or 0.06 Ethereum, which for a guy, it's an under 23 mid. And he's basically, and I know this might sound grandiose, right? But at Scottish football level, he is not too far off, but he is Celtic's De Bruyne. You know, that's how he plays on the pitch. And that's kind of what he delivers SO5-wise when he's available. Rotation or not, the rotation is a pain in the ass, right? But he still does kill, and he still plays for one of the best teams on the platform, you know. So anyway, I didn't quite get him that cheap, and I had to do some trade arounds or whatever. But the price that he was knocking around for, I just couldn't let him. Yeah, I couldn't not get a rare in at least, you know. A super rare went on auction quite cheap recently as well, but that was just a bit beyond me. And in a deal that I had with a card going out, a guy was offering me, and I finally brought in a Cameron Carter-Vickers. And then literally the next day it comes out, oh, he's going to get booked in for surgery after the semi-final. So I'm probably only going to get to play him in SO5 this weekend. The next weekend, it's the semi-final against Rangers. That's not SO5 covered, obviously. Yeah. And then the big man's going to go into surgery, so he's good for next season. So I'm only going to get one bloody game out of it, but here we are. And I got a little NYC guy, by the way, right? This is just the last, because we're talking about America, right? Because I've got Tanny, I've got Barraza, and I've got Sean John. I really need to get a Matt Freeze in to give me a wee bit, you know, so I can sleep at night on that Barraza, because Freeze will play this season. So you might get 10 games over the season, you know. That's probably like, maybe not guaranteed to him, but based probably like on the table for him. Like, you know, you will play throughout the season, because he has a decent prospect of a keeper. That's why he's went to New York, you know, kind of thing. He's not a 38-year-old bench warmer guy, you know. Yeah. Anyway, so I've got Tanny, I've got Barraza, and I've got Sean John. That's all. But as you guys know, like, I follow NYC, I support NYC. So like, when I see the new season cards come out, I always filter by the ones I follow, because with all the Twitter pages I follow, see, whenever they're talking about kids in the B team or the academy that are coming through and looking good, I always just nip onto Sorare and just follow them. And then I just wait for them to get a card, kind of thing. Now, I can't remember anything about this guy, but he was one of those guys. His first name was Jonathan, so he's obviously a stellar lad. Jonathan Jimenez, his name is. So I picked up one of his rares yesterday on Autobid, which was a nice first I've ever done that.
Lovely when they land.
Yeah, it's only 30 quid, which was decent. And he's 21 years old. I'm a bit gutted it's not a rookie, because this is definitely his first season in the senior team, you know. But I've followed him for some reason, and he's a striker. So I'm hoping that could be a wee U23 striker that might serve me quite well. So yeah, some bits and pieces. I got a Bernabei rare in as well, because I've got Taylor, and that's a kind of handcuff situation, similar to what your pal was talking about, huddling. Where defend is just make sure if there is a rotation, just get the other guy. Yeah, and then when you know, you can use him, kind of thing. So just a wee bit filling some gaps, nothing fancy or anything, just wee bits and bobs here and there. Made a wee withdrawal off the back of it as well, and you know, there's some other stuff going on. I've still got a few irons in the fire in that respect. But to start off season 2, I'm a wee bit gutted we couldn't get the stars to align this week, and I think everyone's schedule was a bit mad this week. But Tony picked up he said it was his first unique, right? But I'm pretty sure he's had unique Tony Watt.
I think
I think it's the first. I think it's the first unique. You actually, I think someone traded him his card or something. I can't remember the whole deal with it. But so yeah, his real first unique. He got a Chris Cadden on auction yesterday, and I had this eyed up, and I can't remember who I was talking about it to, but I thought it might have went under 0.3. And if it was going under 0.3, I was definitely going to be interested in it. It went for 0.4, which I think is a great price for it all the same. It's just what my budget would have been for it, But he's went and got himself a Chris Cadden unique at Hibs, so it's a right back defender. Some of you guys might know him if you've been on the channel for ages. I had a Chris Cadden midfielder cards from when he was at Columbus Crew for ages, and then he's quite okay on SO5 as well. And I don't know what Tony's going to use him for. A wee bit of D2, I think, maybe the odd kickoff if nothing's happening fixture-wise. But yeah, excited to see Tony get another strategy on the go that he's going to deploy and go after. So yeah, a big unique for him. What about you, Stishy boy? Have you been in the market much?
I've just been looking. I keep my eye on it. I think what I need to do really is trade. I've got a few cards that are just surplus to my needs at the moment, and I could do with trading a few, but it's me being stubborn and not wanting to give them too much away. Like some of these trading accounts, they want sort of like 110, 120% on top. And yeah, it's hard because obviously another problem with trading is a lot of the values are down, and I'm like, I don't even want to trade these cards at the prices that they're currently being valued at, and then also take another sort of 10, 20% off of them as well. So yeah, I'm always looking, but I haven't picked too much up. The things that I am picking up at the minute are just like really cheap auctions. I'm just trying to win on a few sort of like backup goalkeepers. Just pick up really cheap super rare goalkeepers if and when I see them. Yeah, just on the auctions really. I don't want to use all my ETH balance up, but there's a few cards I'm bidding on at the minute. Let me have a little look at where.
Works super rare closes 4.5 ETH. It closes in an hour. You going after that, Stish?
Revert super rare. That would be a dream, wouldn't it? That'd probably be like an ideal super rare for me to own, knowing that some of my midfield U23s are aging out this summer, and then he obviously can flex into Champ Euro with like the Donnarumma, Mbappe, Cherky. So he would be an ideal card for me, but I can't. My pockets are not that deep right now. I'm trying to not put loads of money back in, and trying to just like work with what I've got. I've had some good wins. I should be able to consolidate around what I've got. So yeah, I'm kind of like, I've got a couple of bids in at the minute on a few auctions. Missed out on a couple in the week. I'm a bit gutted I missed the end of that Clement Diop super rare that actually went in the end for £264. I feel like he's a good little super rare backup goalkeeper with the situation at Atlanta. I think he's currently injured, but hopefully due back soon. But I feel like he might be a potential bargain pickup. I can't believe I missed the end of that auction at 260 quid. I would love to have had that in the gallery. But yeah, I've still got, like that Marco Illich super rare. The situation there at Colorado could change at any game week. So I don't really need to buy anything. I just feel like, if anything, I just need to sort of like tidy up. But there's lots of new people in the chat have been putting forward some good chat already as well. And one thing that we should definitely talk about is the announcement that Sorare made yesterday on the football product roadmap updates. Did you get a chance to look at that, Quinny?
Yeah, I caught it quite late last night, actually, because I was, otherwise kind of tied up for most of the day. But it didn't seem to tell us too much. It's more just this is what we're going to tell you quite soon, and it's like we've been fleshing out. I can't remember all the bits and pieces. I'll go and pull it up on screen. But I think the main thing people were shouting out at me when I was like, what did I miss about it, was they are going to introduce, it sounds like, XP into cap modes. But there's no description on all, some, or what,
Yeah.
Committing to maintaining ETH thresholds with the amounts that they're sitting at the moment. Change the double game week rule. They're going to be adding in mystery jersey items into the club shop. And then they're going to make they're going to make a better way for us to get our teams onto Twitter and onto Instagram and stuff like that. Because that is a bit, no one can totally agree on the best. Some people screenshot from the app, some people download images, some people, do all sorts of stuff, So And then, yeah, what you can expect over the next 3 months, they're going to outline the plans for the next season to do with the cap modes and all that stuff. Fiat wallet system. I think that's more to do with withdrawals, like we've all been kind of waiting for. Make the club shop and show coins more valuable, all that stuff. Launch a new feature so managers can build their collections from favorite leagues. Enhance, and I've seen something somewhere, I can't find it right now, but there was something about the marketplace. And yeah, up at the top, share marketplace updates, including plans for introducing a secondary market fee. Now, when I first, the secondary market fee, it's just plans, right? So it's just, I think, what it'll be in line with. Now, I'm not involved in this, right? But I know that they're testing some stuff, around there. I don't know what they're testing, right? But I know that they're testing some stuff to do with secondary markets, and you can only speculate at this stage, right? But if they're going to do secondary market fees, or when, I guess at this point, if it was in line with, I don't know if they're going to do like bundle sales or if I'll allow you all the stuff. I think Andy Laird was speculating about it recently, and I would listen to his speculation more than mine, let's say. He'll probably be closer to anyone that is touching this stuff, because I'm not. But yeah, he speculates about being able to auction and about being able to bundle our own cards onto the secondary market, so
I like that.
So yeah, maybe fees come in hand in hand with those maybe busier methods in the market, or you can just chill out and put it on the secondary and wait for bids. Maybe it's something, I don't know. I'm just kind of saying that as I'm thinking about it.
You can list at auction or list at a buy it now price type thing.
Yeah, and there's a fee difference, isn't there, on eBay, depending on how you list something. Yeah, that's a good example.
Maybe. Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to see what kind of percentage it comes back with, because my feeling on it is I do agree that I think secondary market fees is the way to go in terms of maintaining, especially things like ETH prizes as we scale, all that kind of stuff. But I also think it will slow down people's listing of cards and stuff like that. We already lose the XP, which puts some people off. But when you're going to be paying a fee for selling a card, I think it would be a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe people won't. Maybe people will just price the cards up, the percentage they're going to lose on the fees or whatever. But it'll be interesting to see what it does to those kind of floor prices, how often people are listing things, all that kind of stuff will be interesting to see. One of the things I kind of took away from the roadmap was not even necessarily what was in it, but I think that this is, a lot of people, if anything, like a lot of the sort of content creators and that, and people on Twitter often sort of moan that maybe Sorare are not as forthcoming with their information. We don't get warnings about stuff. And I think that this is a step in the right direction in terms of, here's what we're working on, just to let you know this is coming. Now, the only problem it might cause was, back in the day, for anyone that was new that maybe didn't see this, there was a time when they announced this kind of progression bar, the progression bar coming soon. And everyone was, and there was quite a positive reaction to that announcement, but then it never really materialized into an actual progression bar. Instead, I think we got, underdog and those kind of new competitions. And then it was now it's kind of like semi-pro, pro, cap 270. That is essentially the progression bar, and coins as well now, right? Instead of a progression bar, we've got these modes that kind of aid progression through the scarcities. So, but I think people sat on that, the term progression bar quite heavily, and
became a bit of a meme.
It did become a bit of a meme, didn't it? And I do think that they're gonna have to be very careful about how they communicate these plans if they're if it's still just in an early stages. I think I'm going to assume that this means that all these things here, if they taken any feedback or learning from the whole when progression bar kind of phase that they went through, I'd like to think that all of these things that we're reading about right now are things that are that close to being finished or ready, that this is why we're hearing about them now, because it's going to happen very soon. They've even put it in, here's what's happening in the next few weeks, here's what's happening in the next few months. And I think the most sort of interesting part of it for me is there was two bits. I think obviously commit to maintaining a threshold reward amounts. I'm going to assume that means that they're going to commit to keeping them the same. That's what I take from maintaining, as opposed to changing, right? hopefully that doesn't mean they're going to change, because I think that if ETH rewards can stay at the level that they're at now, I feel like there's value there. There's reason to play. The cards are priced at a level at the moment that I think it looks good in terms of like potential ROI. If you can buy a team at the price you can buy a team now, but you can win $50 twice a week, I feel like we're in a good spot. So I'm hoping that, maintaining these threshold reward amounts means we're happy at this level. We need to figure out how to keep it at this level and scale it. Then there's that. But also I was really interested about the card bonuses in cap modes ahead of the European football season. So I can imagine we'll probably hear about that in the next few months, but it won't start until maybe like August or something like that, when those first round of European fixtures start. I think, and be interesting to hear yours on it, I don't think we'll get full card bonuses. I think we might get like a 20% bonus for the captain. I can't see, because I think if you've got 240 cap and you only need to hit 250, if you've got if you've got a full team of 10%ers, you're going to hit it if they have a below average weekend. Do you know what I mean? Pretty much.
You get half a player extra.
Yeah, it's like, so now I'm thinking maybe we'll get like a captain bonus. I don't know about card bonuses. What do you think?
So I don't know. I didn't really think about it too. The first thing I thought when I seen it is, I bet you we're going to get. I think we'll get XP in 220.
Okay, that makes sense.
I think. Well, maybe it doesn't actually, as I say that out loud, because obviously if you play mixed scarcity in 220, then maybe that gets a bit clumsy actually. So maybe actually 220 is the one that wouldn't get changed. Obviously, the moment with 270 we get XP and captain. So it probably only can be really 240. I think it would probably just be XP, no captain in that case.
I would be pretty confident of hitting that threshold every weekend in 240. I think it would mean, though, that if they did introduce that, obviously up to 10% on rare, but then in super rare, you're going 25 to 35%.
No, the actual XP will still be 10% for them.
Oh, right.
Because they won't get super rare 20. Yeah.
Got you right, yeah. Yeah, so... yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I don't know about you, but if I could get percentage bonuses on cap mode, I reckon I'd hit 250 every week. I don't think it'd be difficult. I don't know about you. But if I can go as far as a 240 on the flat score, I've got like Di Lorenzo hitting a 10% bonus. I've probably got quite a few cards now that are in that sort of 20, like level 20. And one thing I will say is I think that is probably a little bit too, what's the word? Too much of an advantage to people who've been on the platform a long time and have sat on cards. I don't know.
So I think I'm trying to do the quick maths on it, right? Let's say they're all XP'd up, level 10, goalkeeper to number 5, right? All 5 of them. So let's say this. So I'm trying to work out the kind of... So that means like a team that would have hit probably, and again, this is just my quick maths here, a team that hits 230 points would now have hit it, because they would now have an extra 23 points on top of, if it's a 10% across the board, they'd have an extra 23 points. So a team that pulls in 215 points is still not going to get there, if that makes sense. So it's basically comes back to the old D4 rule of 5 starters and you're probably all right, because 230 points or so across 5 guys at start maybe isn't really, like you say, maybe that much of an ask, but the cap mode does put pressure on that, depending on who your guys are. Because if one guy shows up with a 25 and everyone is just a starter, then you're probably bringing in that 215 score that the XP maybe doesn't tick you over the top for,
Yeah. Interesting. No, I see your point there. And I wonder what their kind of estimations on how much more thresholds they'll be paying out versus like what they're paying out now. Obviously, if we are bringing in secondary market fees on top, then they could actually end up making a lot more money on a week-to-week basis. So maybe they're not that concerned about giving a bit more away, as long as it doesn't create a massive chasm of money lost on top of, they must have some pretty good mathematicians working there. Let's be honest. You'd like to think they are not going to introduce anything that is a massive shot in the foot. But also, as we've seen, I'm sure as and when they do introduce these changes, they will like say, you know, all of this is up for change at any given moment. This, you know, everything's always in sort of testing phase, isn't it? Everything's always changeable at any given moment in the game, I think, to a certain degree. But yeah, good to see, because I didn't see that one coming either. Like I've not heard a lot of noise about introducing bonuses to cap modes, not unless I'm just reading the wrong Discord and Twitter feeds.
I think, well, everyone's talking about success rate in these modes and how, you know, if you build a team, do you win it 2 weeks out of 4, 3 weeks out of 4? That's what everyone's talking about. And then that's why when you were talking, I thought, actually, they will be able to tell if we gave everyone, let's imagine worst case scenario, everyone who played all these 240 modes had full XP players, how much more would we have been on the books for? You know, how much more would we have paid out? Because that bonus is only 10%. It doesn't go to 25 or, you know, anything mad. So you can look at it and go, right, well, this amount of people also brought in, whatever the number is, whatever the line in the sand would be, 229.5 points, you know. So it's then like, okay, for how many people finish between there and 249.9, right? That's an extra 5,000 people, right? That works for us. And then that's and then they can obviously scale that up if they add on more users in their mind when they're doing all these forecasts and projections. So I think it's probably one of those ones where, like I said somewhere, I must have been on that tweet, but like I think they've done this not really out of pressure, but it is more to move the needle a wee bit more, so that it's just a wee bit more. It's just like, yeah, like it's a good. We're quite happy with where the balance is, but we could probably, those people that are scoring 229.4 points, let's bring them into the party. Like,
yeah,
you know,
that makes sense. I mean, to speak from, I guess, like recently I bought a really cheap sort of America contingent to use specifically in either limited America or cap 240, or maybe I could deploy it into all-star limited, but the kind of sole purpose of that was to do like the classic road to glory series, and I have not had a threshold win in the 3 weeks I've entered, so I would probably welcome that to see. But it's been good to sort of see, because I think in my head you think, oh, you know, you can definitely hit that threshold, blah blah blah. I've been very close to it twice, but yet this week I was nowhere near it. So it is not quite as easy as I thought it might be, but maybe with those percentage bonuses, it would bring in, you know, if I assume that I was a player that only put 50 quid in and bought that team and tried to compete with it every week, up to this point, that team hasn't won anything in the 6 game weeks. I think it's been there. It hasn't been able to enter any midweek tournaments. It doesn't, though. The sort of
a tough time of year for midweek utility.
Yeah, and I've only got one goalkeeper in that selection, so I can only enter when that goalkeeper has a game, unless they can fit into cap 220. But that hasn't happened with the. I think I've got 13 players I can select from, and yeah, they haven't fit into them any midweeks yet. But it has been an interesting experience to sort of like, you know, put yourself in the position of someone that only wanted to put 50 quid on and try and compete. And I think it's been close enough that I'd like to think that if that was my entire gallery, I'd still be engaged to, you know, potentially reinvest some of the winnings to like strengthen. Because in my head, I thought the strategy would probably be get 3 thresholds together and try and pick a second cheap goalkeeper up, so that you've got the option of 2 goalkeepers for your, one for your main lineup, one for maybe America or cap 220 or cap 270. If it's been an interesting experiment, if you like, but no end product for that lineup just yet. I think this game week was the worst one I've had yet. It was about 209 points or something like that. It was really far off of it, but it is good to see put yourself in that space and experience it from a different perspective, because I think it's hard sometimes. Though the gallery that I've got at the place it is, it's like you almost forget what it is like for people that don't want to spend that money or don't have. And I think like the options at the moment, there's so many games you can get involved in, isn't there? Like I think on the weekend I had like 36 lineups. I know like some of them were just like put in to try and like win a few extra coins, right? Yeah. Where you've only got 2 or 3 players and you just think you may as well put them in there, see if you can bang another like 50 coins in the bag. And I think I got like 6,500 coins this weekend. It's like, pretty happy with that. I don't know what that's worth in real terms yet, but
double what I got like 3,500 coins or something.
I bet at least 1,000 of them are probably from like the completely dead entries that I put in just to try and get. Because if you put in a dead entry in like super rare and you score a couple 100 points, but you're nowhere near the rewards, that's like 200-300 coins. Like, so I've got a lot of super rares I don't use. I may as well put them in these divisions. And one thing I do think about with this, and I don't know if you'll be able to speak to it, but the way that we know reward pools and stuff like that working at the moment is based on how many. There was one thing they said that how many competitive entries there are in any given division in the game week. Yep. How do they know how many people have just put 3-player, 2 dead players, 3 live players in a lineup in hope to just scrape those coins? I just wonder if that is part of the reason that maybe we're giving people saying that we're giving away too many rewards that are being sold at the moment. And I wonder if that is because they've overscaled like the kind of reward pools based on there being like 50% completely dead lineups in any given division. I don't know if that.
I don't think the lineups ever come into the equation, but I think it is more a case of, I think their consideration is always the most amount for the longest consistent period, if you know what I mean. Like, how can we guarantee? I think like this is something I always think about when it comes to rewards, right? Because I remember when PSG first came on, and I remember when Bayern first came on, and all the rest of it. They have, there was definitely a feeling then, and I definitely feel it from them, that they want Mbappe to be in the prize pool every week possible for the whole season. Yeah. And as we've seen this year, I think PSG were a wee bit late to new season cards or whatever, so maybe Mbappe is a bad example. But in general, particularly the stars, they want them in on show in the prize pool. Yeah. They want one coming out in auction, ideally on clockwork all year round, regardless of what season it is, in and out season and all the rest of it. So I think they're always trying to design the prize pool in such a way that it's going to be, as round as possible for as long as possible, because there's nothing worse. You know what it's like, mate, going into regions, and sometimes it's just all the crappy, like particularly Challenger, it's like early season. It's just all Russia and Belgium. And if you've got like Sporting Lisbon and Ajax and all these other kind of teams, winning cards from there is cool, but they don't really help you and you're less excited about doing it. And those people then tend to compete in All-Star because then who knows, or under 23 or whatever. Point is, I think for the prize pool, they're more kind of focused on making sure that, particularly the stars, there's always availability like 12 months of the year for them, ideally. That
makes sense. Definitely. Something else on that point actually takes us nicely in. J-League, I don't think that was announced last week, was it? I think we know now that the J-League is back. We haven't got cards yet, but they've let it be known that J-League's over the line, and we can expect to see J-League cards in the prize pool pretty soon. I think that's a massive boost for Asia, because obviously the situation we've had with the K-League scoring-wise, maybe those cards are not quite as appealing to people who play Asia at the moment, unfortunately. As someone who watches and enjoys K-League, it is gutting that we are dealing with what we're dealing with. But the scoring has been pretty clockwork on point with like within the 48 hours the last couple of weeks. They also sent out a little notice that a couple of fixtures weren't going to fall within the game week, didn't they? Because they're going to be kicking off like maybe an hour before the game week closes, so we won't get those scores in time for the game week closing. So they've been sort of announcing that ahead of time as well, and I think that's important for anyone that has cards in those fixtures. Be interesting to see how they're displayed in that game week when you're selecting teams, because they'll show up as having a fixture. You'll have to know that that fixture's not going to be scored. So I wonder if they'll show up as no game when you're kind of lineup building. So that'll be interesting to see how Sorare and also I guess Sorare data picks that up. But yeah, I don't know how you feel about the J League coming on. Got any players you're looking out for, or just kind of looking forward to seeing the design of the cards? I wonder if they'll be the same or different from the K League, because so far all of the recent leagues on board and have had like slightly different designs, haven't they?
Yeah, I've always been partial to a J League rookie, but I don't know if I'll be indulging this year in particular. I'm really just waiting to see whoever Celtic get linked to be quite honest, because that's something I'm inevitably going to have to chase down whenever the links come. So I'm just kind of waiting to see, in that sense. And I'm really glad. Like, I think they'll look quite similar to the K-League. They'll obviously need to look different.
Yeah.
But I'm quite excited. I quite like the new inspiration on the designs, as it were, like in terms of the theme that they're now taking them down from the Premier League, kind of ushering in a generation of card, as it were.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the idea of each division having a slightly different design. I think that's nice, a nice touch. I really like the look of the MLS cards, like the MLS logo in the back.
Likewise.
Yeah, it's good. One thing I will say though, I don't know if it will happen with the other cards because I haven't won any. But if anyone in the chat or yourself has won one of those new K-League cards, when you're opening your rewards at the minute, you can tell if you've got a Premier League one because it looks slightly different on the back.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's the case for the new K-League card, so you can see.
I hope it is.
That's a K-League. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I like to not know at all what I'm getting until that card turns round. So I'm not a massive fan of knowing I've got a Premier League because
I don't know. I don't mind that. I like the back of the card having anything.
I like the fact that they look different, but I hate the fact that I know before I've turned it round. Because if you're in, like I said, when I was in that Mbappe lottery the other week, if I'd have opened those cards and seen Premier League, I'd have almost known straight away, well, that's going to be Haaland or Saka. It's not going to be Mbappe. So you've already got that, like, I already know before I've looked at it that I haven't won Mbappe. But that was just like, obviously, that game week's slightly different. On any other given game week, I'd be pretty excited to see the back of a Premier League. It's only when you're in that Mbappe position, which obviously is almost like
a one-off
lifetime. Yeah, I think it's happened to me twice, realistically, and those 2 game weeks in a row. Obviously, went for the 3rd game week in a row this weekend. I didn't mention, but no Mbappe pulls, no podiums for me this weekend. So he didn't get the hat trick, but I did pick up a half decent reward in U23 rare. I got Alexis Phillips, who plays for Rems, and he's on my shortlist. So nice to get a player in who I've been watching, who's in my favourites and that anyway. So I reckon I'll get some use out of him next season. I think he's a good young prospect there. But yeah, back to the point I was making. I'm not sure if anyone's won a K-League card yet. I wonder if the MLS or K-League or anything like that have something different on the background when you're opening your rewards. But
well, MLS doesn't. So I don't know.
Just the Premier League.
I was quite surprised the MLS ones didn't. I was just thinking about that just now because I won that Ladero, who's a new MLS card, and he didn't have a different backing or anything. So maybe the K-League one's more. Maybe it is just a Prem one, but maybe it will be because they kind of said they said something about the design of the cards because they said like the new design will start from the new European season now going forward.
Right.
But the Prem was a launch edition. The MLS is a new thing. And then I think the K and the J League, I think they're just trying to treat them in kind. So I think we'll get I think what we're getting with J and K is maybe there. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But I think we'll get a whole new it'll probably be a further evolution, maybe similar to the evolution we've seen on basketball or baseball, who knows? But we'll probably get a further evolution on these cards again by the other end of the summer. And maybe those ones will be fully backed and maybe there'll be a totally different delivery mechanism. So you don't have that initial, like you're saying there, you open the pack and I know it's not Mbappe because it's a Prem,
But like I said,
maybe there'll be something else to keep that bit of mystery perhaps
now I've won the Mbappe. I think like the next thing that really excites me in terms of rewards is obviously a Man United cards. Like if I see a Prem back in and I know I've got decent sort of placing in the reward. When you come like low down in the rewards, I have literally like no expectation of anything at all. I'm just like, I'll take anything, anyone's guess. But when you're at the top of the pool, you're always going to be looking at that top 4-5 cards in it. And they're the ones you expect to see. So I think that was where that kind of like Donnarumma, like the disheartened edge of picking up a Donnarumma in that game week was like, I did not expect to be that far down when you come first. But yeah, anywhere else, coming like even like 3rd, 4th, I'm not really looking. You're never going to win Mbappe coming 3rd or 4th, right? You're only realistically going to win that if you're first. And even then, it's like a bit of a lottery. And so I was lucky. I think I was really lucky. I won them 2 weeks in a row because, that week before, nothing came from the top end of the pool in any division. Everyone got like on the bottom half in the tier zeros. So the next weekend was always going to be better. It was always going to be an improvement. And I was fortunate that it was the week after that. I think if I'd have won it maybe 3 weeks later, I might have found myself in the bottom half again. But yeah, I don't know when I'll finish first again. So I'm just really happy that we got the Mbappe in, ready for next season. But yeah, we got big game week ahead. Any fixtures you're looking at in particular, Quinny, that you're looking forward to?
Celtic are at home at Motherwell, the last game before the league gets split up and we go into the final matches and all the rest of it. Otherwise, as I'm building my teams, nothing really is jumping out as like, oh, that's a great game. I can't wait to watch that. But yeah, I've been quite in my little Celtic zone over the last couple of days, to be honest. So I've not really looked too far beyond that. I've built my teams and deleted them and all the rest of it 1,000 times over, as you'd expect. But it does kind of circle around some of the questions in Celtic's team for the weekend. And as well, like my team is just covered in injuries again at the moment, and not really covered, I suppose, but it's just lots of my nice to have pieces are the ones that are like the extra level, or maybe not, guaranteed to play this week, or just have a tough game maybe away from home or something. So it's just nothing really grabbing me at the moment.
Yeah. Oh, sounds like you've had an intruder in the studio, Quinny.
Crash bang wallop. You can say that again.
We're so used to listening to podcasts. I don't know about anyone else in the chat or anyone who sort of consumes Sorare content, but most podcasts have dogs barking in the background. We've just got things falling off the wall instead on the end product. I do have a dog actually, but he's locked in the house usually, which is why no one hears him. But yeah, shout out all of the Sorare podcast community. We hear your dogs, and that's what splits us apart from the rest of the Sorare community, isn't it?
We hear your dogs.
We hear your dogs. We raise you. Quinny's shirt's falling off the wall instead. One fixture I am looking forward to.
That's Pavel Trader. He tripped over his.
He just
tripped over his charger wire.
He just threw a bunch of commons at you. So I think this weekend, if I'm not mistaken, so looking at my lineup builder, obviously we've spoken a couple of times recently that I built with my son that kind of like PSV Ajax stack. They play each other on the weekend, so the decision was made to not put them in the same lineup. I don't really know which way I think that one's going to go. I think that's going to be a really interesting game. Lots to play for there. Obviously, Feyenoord is still right up there as well. So, really, the Eredivisie is getting really exciting to watch. So that's a big fixture this weekend. It has meant that I've split my PSV and Ajax into All-Star and Challenger. I've decided, because I also have a Steven Berghaus, I've gone full Ajax with Christian Naboa in the middle in Challenger. And then I've taken the PSV part of that team and put it in All-Star with Bastoni, who I might actually switch out because he's just played in midweek. Philip Cohn, Salzburg in goal at home. Away to Sturm Graz. And then I've got Marcus Pink, who moved to China recently. So randomly got a little bit of Chinese action there. I've ended up...
Think he'll play?
He did. He played the first game. He didn't score great, but they've got, they won the game. They should win again. He plays for Shanghai, who are a good side in the Chinese Super League. So if he started the first game, I expect him to start again. So, yeah, bit of all-star action for me there.
Sounds fun.
But yeah, beyond that, I'm thinking my main lineup. So after speaking to you last week, I really started looking at those all-star divisions a bit more seriously. So that started with the midweek for me. I had like one nailed on goalkeeper rare to use this week in the midweek, but I had a lot of good outfield options, even some good super rares. But I decided to target all-star rare with like the goalkeeper that was playing and a full lineup. Like you were saying, if you hit well in that division, you win a card, but then you also win money. If you're talking like top 40, top 30 places, it's a nice amount to win as well. So yeah, your thoughts were ringing through my head doing my teams for the midweek, and I've got Wirtz and Romulo left to play in that team. So two good, hopefully some good scores. Both of those very capable of the high end of their ceiling. So, and Romulo's an interesting one because he plays really late. I think it's like 11 a.m. kickoff on Friday. So, oh no, it's almost exactly
you're going to be wrecking people's dreams, Stish.
Yeah. Romulo's going to come and smash, and he's my captain as well. So, like, I could literally like find myself 150 odd point swing, not 150. I think 128.5 points is the ceiling for him, but he's capable of hitting it. I actually watched Chengdu last week because I had him. I've got a Chengdu stack minus a goal. I don't have a defender. I've got a Kim Min-woo super rare, Felipe super rare, Palacios super rare, a Romulo rare, and I also have a Palacios rare. So I've got the makings of a massive Chengdu stack there. And last season they were great. So I was like, anyone that was linked to Chengdu over the close of the season, I was like, get him in, pick him up. The only player I haven't got that is on the roster is Win Bichala, who plays at the back. I just feel like people are overpricing him a little bit because of the novelty of, like, you know, low supply, no new cards minted, all of that stuff.
Yeah, that's a fun dynamic in the market. I do like the limit print, you know, especially when it is one that moves out of region or out of license, you know, situation.
They've had good midweek fixtures as well in the Super League since it's reopened. Like, they've played every midweek, so it's really strengthened my midweek options. The thing I am lacking is goalkeepers at the moment for midweek, so I don't really want to go out and buy one unless it is an Asia, or I think an Asia goalkeeper makes sense. I've got quite a few America options, but I don't know if we've got any Chinese Super League covered goalkeepers, but that would be the sensible pickup if I was going to pick anything up, a goalkeeper that plays in that league. But I don't think there are any. If there are, maybe you need to do a bit more research. But Simo in the chat says Barca versus Atletico should be a good game. That is a good fixture. Any skin in that game, Barca Atletico? Quinny, I know you're heavy on your La Liga.
Marcos Llorente's yellow card suspended for it, so I've only got All Black. I'm not going to play Savic, and I'm not going to play Ferran either. No, I'm not. I'll be able to watch that one quite, you know, just watch it. They're normally not good games. Barca Athletic, it's normally quite low scoring, lots of yellows. Normally, I don't care if it's home or away. It's normally the way it goes. And particularly with Athletic could overtake some. I forget who's. Is it Madrid that are second? Athletic could finish second the way they're going, you know, so it's a big game for them.
Yeah.
Barca are definitely on a down at the moment, even though they've just beat Real Madrid and they're sailing high at the league, but they're missing players galore. They're not winning convincingly. I don't think they won at the weekend. They drew 0-0 the weekend before last. That's what I'm thinking about. So, yeah, it'll be an interesting game to watch. I don't know if it'll be exciting, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Moldy's just jumped in the chat with a really good, interesting talking point that has happened. We've been talking about this off air with Tony. Moldy says, I was chatting to Tony last night. Lee Hambom is back in training, and Tony just won the other U23 school defender. Now, we've been talking about this, haven't we? Because I've been looking at that. Tony is not sure if he wants to keep that card. Moldy saying that would suit a stack with your Bake Super Rare. And I've also got the Lee Hambom Unique. So that would be a massive spine for me. I have been looking at Tony's card thinking that it would probably make sense. If Lee Hambom comes back into that defense and he keeps the starting place, that this other player, the only thing I do worry is when Lee Hambom comes back in, does Osmar slot in next to him instead of this U23, and does this U23 just find himself like benched? That is that.
Who's playing next to him now? Is that a veteran or is that
There's two young players playing at the minute. They've moved Osmar into centre mid for quite a few of the last games.
I would think that move would have happened. Then now it would be Osmar and the kid, and then the kid gets dropped and Handbomb comes back in. But if Osmar's in midfield and it's two kids, then you know whatever. I think Handbomb, if he's the Korean timber like we think he is, and you know, what spot does he take, and then who drops out for him, and then if that leaves Tony's guy on the pitch, I think that's. But again, you never know with these. You never know, but that's the way I would read it.
I like the look of it. I like the player. His SO5 output's very good. As long as Lee Hambom is not playing, I think he's nailed. But it'll be interesting to see what happens when Lee Hambom comes back in. Do we see Lee Hambom and Osmar back at the centre back positions, or do we see Lee Hambom and the kit that Tony picked up joining there with maybe Osmar sat in like a defensive centre mid role, which for me, for my gallery, would be incredible. But yeah, very, very tempted to have a little look at this player. Tony 1 is a very good win. I think that his valuation at the moment, I think his last sale was like 0.14, but I think obviously Tony will want a bit more than that for it. And I don't have a lot in terms of super rare that I can offer him. He was saying like, "Oh, have you got any super rares?" I don't really want to part with the ETH on that. I think that'd be like an excessive purchase for me. But I was looking at super rares I could potentially swap. I don't really have anyone in that kind of price point that I can let go of at the minute. So that's kind of what's...
So what is the plan? I imagine Tony never won that card. What is the plan for that team?
Tony won it. He won it.
No, but imagine he didn't. Imagine you never had the opportunity to get that card. Where is that team sitting anyway? Does it need that? Does it need a defender? Does it need a spine reinforcement like that?
My team or Tony's?
Yours, the one that you're thinking about adding this guy into.
So I think it would be useful in the close season for me because I think my defensive U23 options at the moment are Seo Yongwoo, who ages out in a couple of months, and then beyond that, it's just like a few sort of fringe players in Americas who you can't really trust to start. I've got really good options in Europe, but then beyond that, my options are a little bit thin. So if I knew this kid was going to be coming in and staying in his position, I think it's just like me thinking, what an amazing spine of a U23 super rare team you've got there when you've got, if they all start, Bake super rare, Lee Hanbom unique, and is it Kim Jin Sung? I can't remember his name. I'd need to check it, but Kim, I know his name's Kim. We'll call him Kim for now, but
safe assumption.
If he keeps his starting place, then any game that Saul keep a clean sheet, you're telling me many people are going to like be competing with me in U23 on a game where my keeper's kept a clean sheet and I've got two defenders or the 12 points better off than they should do, right? Yeah, it's very tempting, right? It's I think that's the part of it. I'm just like, this would be amazing. Like, I should really, if Lee Hanbom comes back in and that player keeps his place, he would be a good acquisition for me. And
so I've just jumped on your lineup builder, mate, because you can do that up to game week 379, which is the first non-EU game week that we have. So let's say you put your Sol guy in, you've got your Hanbom, and then Obed Vargas, Efren Alvarez, we kind of rely on them. I don't know the Castro guy either. Yeah, they're a bit shaky. And then up front, Brenner. Oh, Ferreira's cool. Calido's fine, isn't he?
I'm good up front, definitely. But yeah, midfield's a bit thin.
If you get that guy in a mid, if that guy is nailed, it becomes nailed or something, then you could see for about 7 weeks or something, you could have your way with that division.
Like, there can't be many people out there with a lineup like that for the next sort of 6-7 weeks. I think, I mean, for All-Star, I'm good. I think it is U23. But if you look at my lineup builder, maybe for All-Star in those same game weeks, I reckon I'm pretty strong. I forget what other midfield options I've got. I think Kim Min-woo.
All-Star Super.
Yeah. I think Kim Min-woo is probably my strongest super rare. And Osmar, obviously. But yeah, it's... I think it doesn't give me the option of U23 without that. Like I said, Obed Vargas did start, got an assist the other day, but he's in and out of the side. He's obviously only, 17 years old as well, so he's not nailed on.
You've got another unique there if you're playing global to rotate with, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, a unique midfielder wouldn't be a bad thing from like that kind of region. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then play U23 D1.
Yeah.
Super rare keeper, super rare that Tony's got. And then if you got you need a forward. Yeah,
so I saw you post the other day that you were thinking of going into D1 with a lineup that worked. I didn't realise you can use 2 super rares in D1.
I think it might be, I'll check the under 23, but for All-Star, it's 3 unique still. It's always been that. For All-Star, it's the cap modes, it's one. Under 23, I'm not so sure about, but let me check. Under 23 is 2 supers.
Interesting.
I think that's for all the D1 regions, all the old ones, Champion and Challenger. It's 2 supers.
I've got what, 3 or 4? I've got 4 uniques now. 4 uniques. I've got obviously Levitt. I've got Lee Hambom. I've got Dacol Romero, and I've got Ayumu Seko. So there might be a little window of opportunity for me to go into D1 U23.
You got a great fixture week. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, obviously Levitt and Lee Hambom are both injured, and Romero hasn't played a minute since I bought him. So, yeah, I need fixtures to fall. Right.
But that'll be a great. You'll probably get great fixtures falling your way.
I've managed to get, I think Levitt is rumoured to possibly be back before the end of the season, so I might get some use out of him. That sounds like he's on track to potentially play 2 or 3 games towards the end of the season, but we'll see. We'll wait and see there. But yeah, maybe D1 could be of use, could be a little bit of a good look for me at some stage in the not so distant future. But how is your thinking going on that potential D1 entry? Where are you sat with that at the moment? Are you thinking that you're going to run it, or?
Nah, I was kind of more like, see with some of the trades and that I've been doing, I'm very incentivized to try and win some uniques, as you guys will know, like the scarcity above. I'm trying to get into the scarcity above, trying to get some, even if it is tier 4s or whatever at kickoff. Obviously the auction Tony got, I was looking at that, see how cheap it would go. Because I think like for the reaffirmed commitment to ETH thresholds and the current level that they're at, if the scarcity above, I see it at the moment, I find it very tempting, and I think, wow, if I could pull that off, maybe now is the time for me to try and work that out through some auctions and some trades over the next kind of 2 to 3 months, again, planning for next season. Yeah, sure, if I could, I put the team together to send in and stuff like that. I'm like, well, I could maybe get lucky, one All-Star, 1 week, if I know that Mulgrew will play and I know that Edward will play, which are both so shaky, it's not even worth throwing the McGregor against them. But I've got a goalkeeper good enough, and I definitely have a super rare good enough that I reckon if all the stars aligned, I could fight. But it's just a wee pipe dream. But I've been kind of going down that, because the thing with the scarcity above versus the one that anyone is native to playing, whether it's limiteds, rares, anything, when you're looking at the one above, there's going to be a markedly less of an availability for that card on the secondary market by comparison. Yeah. Like if you live in limiteds and you want anything, there's 10, 15 copies lying around. If you want a rare, some guys, there's only maybe 1 or 2 that are listed. Some guys might have 10 or something, but it is generally less, so on and so forth. So you've got to kind of deal with that when you're moving in, scarcity up. And then because there is just less of them, you're, like you were mentioning earlier, Stish, and we've mentioned with Tony's great buy, the auction house is a good place to get scarcity above generally. If you can find one at a good time that's maybe not really of interest to people that are native in that division, you can maybe get a wee bit of one man's trasses or a man's treasure, but then you're at the mercy of when those auctions come out, what time of day, what week, is it today, is it 2 months from now, is it yesterday and you missed it and you've only realized you want this guy now, or so I'm forever kind of toying with those divisions and having a look at them and thinking, like, how far away am I really? How many more pieces do I really need? And then you're always in that, you always then quite quickly can talk yourself into, I could get away with the minimum. And as soon as you kind of go to put that into place, as soon as I sent some bids out and stuff, I'm like, the minimum's not going to cut this. Like, there's going to be somebody get suspended or dropped, or it happens. There's no point kidding on it won't, And then I talk myself back out of it and try and stay patient for a little bit longer. But it's just a wee bit of thought experiments for me at the moment.
I'm having a little look at what's on the market, unique-wise at the moment coming up. And we've got Alejandro Garnacho. His auction's live at the moment. He will probably go for a few quid.
I'd imagine so.
And then you've got one I was interested in is Valentin Barco, who is like the kind of
Harry's guy,
wonder kid at Boca, and they've actually started using him. He hit 100 in the week. I've got his limited, and I think obviously that's why they've started his auction now, because it's
he banged the 100
games in a row, actually scoring some points finally. But yeah, he hit a 36 last weekend and he hit 100. We got an assist in the week. Highly rated, highly touted. young talent at Boca. Next big thing to come out of the Boca Academy.
Next big ginger out of Argentina.
That's it, yeah. So I did put in a bid for him. I've put my max bid in. It's already gone. He's still got a day and 5 hours, but I don't know what that goes for. But
are you still top bid?
It's not. Yeah,
on the auto bid, or have you been taken off now?
It's still low. It's been outbid, but it's still low. But I'd expect it to go quite a bit higher. But to be honest with you, I've got I've got 3 defender uniques. I definitely don't need another one. But I just feel like he might become one of the premium. If he does what they're all expecting him to do, it could be the equivalent of having a Hakimi unique in a few years' time. Do you know what I mean? So, 17, he's still got years of U23. So a good one to pick up, but only if you get him at the right price. I feel like, let's have a look who's in the bidding on it now.
What about the boy at Brighton? He caught my eye when I looked at him yesterday on the train.
Enciso.
I don't know who he is, but his scores look nice and his card is fucking beautiful.
Yeah, he's got unique. I mean, he put up a 69 against Chelsea, 67 against Bournemouth. Yeah, he's 18, Paraguay. So you imagine he's in amongst the internationals. Yeah, I mean, he'd be a great one. Midfielder, already playing in the Premier League. Brighton are a really good setup. I wonder what that goes for. Basil P is in the bids already, so that usually means it won't go cheaply from experience. But yeah,
is his name Basil P? I've always called him Baslip.
Maybe it is Baslip. I've seen another one that's finishing soon. Shirandi Sambo, 20-year-old defender. He put up 100 this week. He's at Sparta Rotterdam, and Pranksy Plays is in the bidding for him at the moment.
He's loving life, isn't he?
Yeah, I haven't looked at his gallery, but he's been picking up some nice cards. He's got a lot of uniques actually.
Yeah,
and Maximan, Alexander Isak, Gabriel Jesus, Kieran Trippier. I wonder what rewards he's been pulling in. Have a look and see what he's been winning, but he's buying a lot of cards. He's buying a lot of good cards as well. Actually, he's definitely going to be one to watch. He won a Cherky the weekend by the looks of it.
It's a great one.
I see. Oh, he's got Roman Celentano goalkeeper unique. I was in the bidding for that, and it got won by Nanzo. So Nanzo obviously sold that to him. I wonder if. Oh wow, Nanzo's made a hefty profit on it. So Nanzo won it at auction at 4.6. He sold it to Pranksy Plays 2 days ago for 8. That's a lovely bit of end product for you, Nanzo, if you're listening. Hard to let go of that, but at that price, you can't really hold on for it.
I just traded my Matt O'Reilly out, and I got Matt O'Reilly jersey number in.
Oh yeah,
so I'm buzzing.
Did you get a nice bit of profit on that?
No, I swapped out. I got the jersey number in, gave the guy a tenner. He swapped to me.
Nice. I see that Gabri Vega has been picked up by Pranksy Plays. He's got his unique.
Oh, did he? How much did they pay for that? That was going for quite a
bit. I'd have to go on Sorare data to see, but it's not. It was a private offer, so it doesn't show up on the main site. But yeah, he's got some serious cards there. He obviously knows what he's buying because he's got some pretty random players as well.
He's definitely got a star membership on Sorare data, hasn't he?
Yeah, 100%. He's definitely picking up some really interesting youngsters as well. Oh, he's got that Antiste as well. He's got loads of good cards, man. Maybe we have to get him on the podcast and ask him what is it that he's looking for. But he's definitely got an eye for a U23 hot prospect, and a bottomless pit of money, it seems, as well. So be interesting to see how he fares in D1. I need to give him a follow. Make sure. Oh, I am following him on Sorare. I need to add him to a manager watch list or something like that. See how he's getting on in the weeks. But yeah, apologies for the cutout for anyone that was listening live. I'm sure on the podcast that won't cause any issues whatsoever. But yeah, I think we've covered a lot, Quinny. I don't know if there's anything you had to add before we sign out.
No, I'm just looking forward to the game week. Good luck, everyone. Hopefully we'll have some end product this week. And I've got Tony in a big team. I'm backing Tony to get a goal. He's playing Kilmarnock this weekend. So hopefully we get some end product on and off the pitch. So hopefully we'll do better with scheduling next week. We'll get everyone together. Hopefully, Tony's picked up a wee decisive for himself as well, and he's unique, obviously. So big good day. Good luck, everyone.
Yeah, good luck, everyone, and we'll see you again next week. Cheers, everyone.